What is going on, YouTube? We are back here today covering our reactions on this past week in the NFL. Week 4. Had a lot of stuff to cover, so let's just get right on into it. I am your host, Dalton Lee. Kicking it off, we had Thursday Night Football. We had the Seahawks go into Arizona and play the Cardinals. And initially, this game was kind of starting to look ugly. Seahawks were just kind of doing whatever they want. It was almost a three-score game at one point. I was ready to turn it off. And then the Cardinals in the second half just kind of clawing their way back into it. And they fall short. They fall short and they lose by a field goal. I will say, a pretty sneaky, entertaining game based off of how it started. Um, the big thing I took out of it is why is it taking so long to get the ball for the Cardinals? Why is it taking so long to get the ball into Marvin Harrison's hands? He was one of your top picks now, essentially 2 years ago. He wasn't really super involved in the offense last year. He had a good year. He had a really good year. I think he had 8 touchdowns, 800 yards last year, but he had a slow start last season. Now we're getting into this season. He's having another slow start. Is it an offensive issue? Is it something between him and Kyler? I don't know what the overall issue is going on here, but when those two are connecting, things work pretty well for them. When they're on the same page, it's almost a different level of football being played in Arizona because it's opening up more for the rest of the team, and it kind of helps with the run game, especially in a game where it's your first game without James Conner after you had the season-ending injury. It was rough to start, but once they kind of started getting clicking, it opened up more for everybody else, and that's how they were able to claw their way back into it. But on the opposing side, Seahawks played really well in the first half. Defense was flying around making plays. The offense ran the ball at will, opening up play action. Sam Darnold looked really efficient, made some good throws, made some good plays. And then in the second half, you could kind of tell they were trying to take their foot off the gas and just get through the game. It was already such a big lead. And then when Arizona climbed back in, that's kind of when you see emergency mode. They looked a little wobbly, but they were able to do just enough to hold on and get the win. I thought it was a really good game between the two. I do still think both teams are pretty good. I did think Seattle was better roster wise, health wise, and player personnel wise. But Arizona kept it competitive. I think Arizona is better than what we've been seeing. I think the issue is just there's been a lot of miscues. I think if they can clean up the miscues, they can be a really good, at least offensively, team. Defense is a little up and down, but that defense is also really solid too. Then we get to our Dublin game, 9:30 a.m. our time. We had the Vikings and the Steelers, a game which I thought Carson Wentz's experience was about to go crazy. Carson Wentz kind of let down. It was 24-21. First game back for Jordan Addison, playing against a Pittsburgh defense that's been kind of shaky, kind of questionable at times. But Pittsburgh, for a majority of that game, looked like the better team. They looked like they wanted it more than Minnesota did at times. I remember one play. Jordan Addison, wide open down the sideline, gets the ball. Should be an easy, just walk-in touchdown. Peyton Wilson, former ACC legend, runs and hawks him down to make it first and goal. Granted, Minnesota still scored on the drive, but it took another minute and a half off the clock versus a mere couple seconds. And I think even though you give up the score there, it shows to your teammates like this guy is still making plays. He's trying. I just think there's a little more continuity going on over there. There's a lot of good vibes going on in Pittsburgh, which is weird to think. Normally this time of year we're like, it's whatever. They're just winning games. I gotta say this is probably the best a Pittsburgh offense has looked. They hadn't really ran the ball super well. They did this day. Kenneth Gainwell, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns. They're probably thinking he's moving like prime Derrick Henry. But for majority of the year, they hadn't really ran the ball super efficiently. It's been more so pass game and field position. But they look like they're starting to form a good offensive recipe, and it's helping the defense a lot. If you're able to burn clock, get your defense rested up, and put the opposing team's offense in a situation where they can't really run the clock and run the ball, so they have to throw it, and your defense knows it, it's going to help out for sure. And I think that's the best embodiment of this game. Pittsburgh holds on to win by a field goal. Now, if they were to play this game 5 weeks from now, who knows how it looks by then. But for right now, it's a good win for Pittsburgh against a decent Minnesota team, especially against that defense. It's a pretty good defense. Still put up 24 on them. Then we get into our 1 o'clock games. And I don't have a whole lot to say about this game, which sucks. The Patriots just steamrolled the Panthers. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know. And the worst part is the game actually started really well for Carolina. Opening they get the opening drive, they go right down the field, a little bit of run, a little bit of pass, picking up first downs. Bryce throws a nice little contested tight window throw to Tommy Trimble. They go up. I'm like, okay, missed a PAT, but still, you're up. Like, sweet. New England gets the ball. Panthers defense gets a 3-and-out. Like, okay. Maybe we're on to something here. Panthers get the ball, get a first down or two. Have to end up punting because of a couple miscues, penalty. Okay. Punt return touchdown for the Patriots. And then it's like from there, the damn floodgates just opened. And after that, it was just all Patriots. The punting team, I don't know what they're doing. And then when it comes to the defense, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, Drake May kind of was able to do whatever. The running backs were kind of able to do with it whatever they wanted. And then the offense just got cold really quick. Panthers didn't score another touchdown until the fourth quarter with Andy Dalton in the game. I don't know. I feel like, it's week 4, and it already feels like a lot of the Panthers players are giving up on the season. I mean, I understand you're 1-3, but you showed promise at the end of last year. On paper, it looked like we had improved in areas, and it just still feels like the same Panthers team from last year. I don't know what needs to happen. I don't think it's Canales. I don't think the offense, to an extent, hasn't been the issue. I feel like the offense could be better, but the offense I also feel like could be a lot worse when it's. I will say the offense is really good when it's still a close game because then the offense is still opened up. We can still run the ball. We can then lead into play action. We can throw in some miscues and be able to roll. The issue is when the defense puts you in a position where, okay, we had the ball, it was tied, now we're down a score. You have one penalty, kills your drive, and then immediately defense gives up another score. All right, it's almost the end of the first quarter. You're already down 2 touchdowns. At that point, you can't really run the ball because you're at a point of where if we keep trying to run the ball, we're killing clock. Yeah, sure, we might be able to use the running game to get down the field, but if you eat up 6 minutes of clock to score, you're scoring, make it up, but if your defense still isn't going to be able to get stops, it gets old, and there was just a couple plays where it felt like, is anybody really trying? It's a rough time of year to be a Panthers fan. I will give the Patriots credit. Patriots saw this, Patriots capitalized on it, and they went full on foot on the neck. And they went out and got the win. Panthers didn't lose it. Patriots won. Just straight BTA, man. Drake May looked good. I gotta say, I really like Drake May's game. And that's hard to say as a Duke fan, talking about a former UNC quarterback like that. But he's good. I think they can give him another year or two. Give him another playmaker or two. Patriots will be in business. This game, we got it wrong. We took Chargers in this one. Chargers lose to the Giants 21-18. Jackson Dart's first start. Before I get into the issues with the Chargers, let me give some flowers to the Giants. Cam Scatterbo, dog. Jackson Dart might be a dog. I mean, Jackson Dart had, I think, not a necessarily great rookie debut, but he had a really good rookie debut. I think this is the best the Giants offense has really looked all year consistently. I understand they scored 37 points against the Cowboys, but everybody's doing that. Everybody's doing that. So every offense looks good against the Cowboys. But against this Chargers team, you put up 21 at home. You looked really efficient. Now, obviously, Dart probably had a couple throws he wished he could have had back, but I think the big difference was the fact that if things got tight in the passing game, Dart was able to scramble, pick up a first down, keep the drive alive, and that's what kills a team defensively. Is when you got them on 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, they're like, we got everything in the pass game locked up, and nobody's watching the quarterback, and he's just able to do a little scramble, get the first, because then you're like, we just had him stopped, and now you got to go back and do it again. But I will say, probably the biggest hero is that Giants defense. That defensive line is insane. Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Thibodeau, and the rookie Carter. I mean, they're all just flying around. Made Justin Herbert's day an absolute living nightmare. He got hit 14 times on the day. Got sacked, I think, 2 or 3 times. And it didn't help that his starting left tackle, who was supposed to be his right tackle after Slater got hurt before the season, Joe Alt got hurt with a high ankle sprain, so he's going to miss some time. That wasn't even the biggest injury of this game. Malik Neighbors on a low contact injury, tore ACL. And I think this just further proves the point that a lot of people have been saying that we need to get rid of turf fields. Seems like ever since the majority of these fields have gone to turf, I feel like there's just more and more non-contact injuries. We saw it happen to Najee Harris. We've seen it now to Malik Neighbors, Joe Burrow getting turf toe. There's just so many guys now getting ACL, Achilles, all these somewhat non-contact injuries that are just like, what are we doing? And the crazy part is a lot of them practice on real fields, and that, like, they'll practice on real grass, and for the most part stay pretty healthy. Every now and then, got a little quad, little hammy, but that could just be from trying to get back in shape or just prolonged use. And then you get onto the turf, and then all of a sudden that's where it's just boom, 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 boom. Hashtag ban turf. That's all I got to say. Chargers, yeah, it's a tough loss, especially when you have some injuries, but I guess it's kind of, I don't want to say a good thing to look at, but you're beat up and you lost by 3 on the road after playing a tough game last week. In theory, you're only going to get healthier. You're going to get Joe Alt back, but that's not going to be for another month. If you're kind of able to ride out the ship and keep your position in the division, you should be fine. For the Giants, I think it can only really be uphill from here. I mean, Jackson Dart's only going to get more comfortable in the offense. Scadabo's only going to get more comfortable in the offense. The only issue is really they're going to be the receiving core. You're missing your top wideout, so you're going to need guys to step up, whether it be Wandell or Slayton. But I will say the Giants' defense, at least that D-line, is going to keep you in a lot of games. So that'll be good for the Giants. But if Dart's able to be mobile and make a play or two, I mean, good on them. I think, they might have gotten a steal at the 26th pick, I think is what he was. They traded up and got him. Next, Titans-Texans. Texans kind of rolled the Titans. I mean, it was 26-0, second shutout in back-to-back weeks for a team in the NFL. But, again, Titans aren't really that good. Texans are a top 5 defense. As you can tell, they just absolutely demolished them. But the offense didn't really do a whole lot. Will Marks had a good game for the running attack. But CJ Stroud was just really efficient. But it's easy to be efficient when you have a running game that's able to produce on its own. It's just going to open up air yards. But as long as you're efficient, that's what matters. Granted, it is still kind of a grain of salt. This is the Titans. Not really super good. But still, win's a win. Finally can get a win under the Texans' belt. Maybe this could be a good turning point for them. Maybe they can get into an offensive rhythm with a defense that's for the most part pretty healthy. Same with the offense for the most part is pretty healthy. I mean, they're still missing Tank Dell. He's recovering from an injury he suffered late last year. So the sky is kind of the limit if they can get him back to where he was before the injury with Nico, with Dalton Schultz. Joe Mixon's going to come back at some point with Will Marks and Nick Chubb. But the offensive line's still a little questionable. A little questionable. But Titans, you got to get Cam Ward some help. Got to get him some help. If not, it's gonna be a long couple years with Cam Ward because I don't necessarily think he's the issue, but it's hard to evaluate that when he has no real offensive line and he doesn't have great weapons and the defense is bad. So I don't know. It's just starting to slowly become a tire fire over there. Next, you had the Commanders play the Falcons in Atlanta. Commanders still starting Marcus Mariota with Jaden Daniels recovering from a knee sprain, and they kept it close. Kept it within a touchdown with the Falcons, but the Falcons just looked super efficient on offense, whether it was running or passing. Michael Penix had a good game. Bijan had a good game. Tight end one, Kyle Pitts got in the end zone, baby. We love it. But again, if I'm the Commanders, I'm not super worried. You're playing with your backup. All you want your backup to do is keep you afloat during these times until you get him back. And that's what Marcus Mariota's been able to do, keep him in the games. But it's still a big win for Atlanta, just to kind of get them back in the winning column after getting shut out last week by the Panthers. I'm going to say that as many times as I can throughout the season because it happened. It's still weird, but it is what it is. Then you had the Aints play the Bills. The Saints actually kind of kept it somewhat close. I mean, it was 31-19, but there was a while where the Saints were right there within a range of tying it. But again, Bills' run game led the way. Their defense still isn't great, but their run game led the way. Josh Allen was kind of able to do whatever he wanted, able to do enough to keep them from losing. The Saints still aren't really super great. I mean, the only good thing they got going on offense is Rashid Shaheed has speed. Olave is probably their best target. I like Juwan Johnson. I think at some point they got to move Alvin Kamara, even though he's really good. He isn't what he used to be, but I feel like he'd still be good enough to help a team that's already good, and you're not expecting a whole lot out of them. But that defense is no bueno. They just look old, look slow. They look tired already, and it's only week 4. I don't know what else to say about them. This was a good 1 o'clock game we're about to get into. Eagles Bucks. So early on, Eagles jumped out to a quick 14-0 lead, and at halftime was up 20. Was it 24-3? Like it was ugly quick, and then all of a sudden, Baker starts cooking, throwing dots. Chris Godwin's back. Mike Evans was out. Yeah, Emeka Ibuka. He's just slinging the rock. Starts bringing them back. Eagles got a couple more points, but I mean, Baker was right there at it. It came down to a 4th down that they just couldn't convert on. Eagles defense kind of bailed them out, especially when your offense only gets 3 first downs in the second half and you didn't complete a pass in the second half. You had such a dominant start to a football game. Not only the very beginning, but the entire first half. And then you just go complete opposite ice cold. That's concerning. Very concerning. Especially if you're a fan of the Eagles or you're part of the Eagles, that's very concerning because you look at all the talent you got. You got A.J. Brown. You got Devontae Smith. You got Saquon Barkley. You still arguably have a top 10 offensive line. And Jalen Hurts isn't really a top 5 quarterback, but he is good enough and efficient enough to be able to, at least play point guard for all these playmakers, and yet you're unable to do that. And it's weird. And then when you start keeping your defense on the field for extra time, that's only going to wear them out. And that's what lets teams get back into games, especially if they are able to score. I mean, Baker was able to flip the ball out to Bucky. Emeka didn't matter. He ran for a couple yards. I really thought for a fourth straight week we were going to see a Baker comeback drive. And it wouldn't have shocked me because that's what he's done all year. And I was expecting it. The Eagles are just able to muster up enough strength to stop him one last time and get out of there with a win. But if I'm the Eagles, I don't feel super confident in the fact that I'm 4-0. You've had 2 weeks come down to the last drive after either having a slow start or a hot start and then going slow. I mean, it's a weird area to be in if I'm them. Hadn't ran the ball super well, unlike they did last year. I think they got some things to work on in the locker room, especially when you're paying A.J. Brown that much money and you really haven't gotten him the ball a whole lot, except in that Rams game. That was the best game he's had all year. And him and Devontae are the big reason y'all won that game. I'd have got questions for that. Next, Browns Lions. Wasn't really a whole lot to talk about here. Lions, come off a big win against the Ravens. They just go out there and do what they do, put up a lot of points. If I'm the Browns, it looks like they're already shooing in the season. I mean, Joe Flacco threw a couple balls that were nowhere close to a receiver. I mean, he threw one like rainbow lofted one to a Lions safety. At some point, you got to pull the plug and put in one of the rookies, whether it be Dylan Gabriel or Shador. I think that's the best thing to do because they still have a decent defense. They were able to kind of keep it close in the first half, but at this point, you just got to figure out offense. You got to be able to just put points on the board, more than 10. But the Lions continue to look like that they're going to bounce back from that Packers loss from week 1 and still be in that conversation for one of the best teams in the NFC. Especially without Ben Johnson. That offense still looks really efficient, whether it's running the ball or throwing it. Maybe it wasn't all Ben Johnson. Only time will tell. Next, we have the 49ers play the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Jaguars go into San Fran and win in San Fran. I was very shocked by this, only because that offense still hasn't looked super efficient. The bright spots of that offense was Brian Thomas got the ball a little more, made some plays, and ETN had a really big day. But Trevor Lawrence still hasn't looked like the guy we thought he was going to be when he was going to be the number 1 pick out of Clemson. But that defense is sneaky good. They're very feisty. They get after it. And they kind of had the 49ers in a blender for a good while in this game. Obviously, the 49ers still got a couple players that can make plays, but Brock Purdy was having trouble. Christian McCaffrey couldn't really run the ball. Pearsall had a drop or two. This doesn't make me think the Jags are good or anything, but they went in there and beat San Francisco, who is solid. They got good players, but I think it raises more questions of, are there still issues with this 49ers offense? Because now we're at a point where it's Tuesday, they play Thursday, and they don't know if their number 1 receiver or their starting quarterback are going to play on a short week. So now we're getting in the realm of what's going to happen with this team. The defense has still been solid. Robert Saleh's coaching his tail off to keep that defense in a good spot. But that offense kind of needs to come up with something quick and in a hurry. Next, I can't wait to talk about this one. The Indianapolis Colts go to LA to play the Rams. And the Rams win 27-20. And the only reason I'm ready to talk about this one, Adonai Mitchell, I'm watching you. What's your FanDuel, man? Because there's no way you're going to catch a wide open pass, be able to just walk into the end zone, and you're going to stick the ball out for no reason at all. There's no defender close. You're going to stick the ball out to cross the goal line quicker. And you just miraculously fumble it out of bounds? What are we doing? We saw Jonathan Taylor do it last year. What did it do? It cost him a game. We see it this year. Sorry, it's cost you a game. You were undefeated. I understand Daniel Jones didn't have a great day. He threw a pick early on. But stuff like that can be very demoralizing quickly. When you're already a player who's not getting a whole lot of reps between Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, and then there's you, along with a Tyler Warren. You got Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, and you got Daniel Jones. You go make a play like that in a game that's tight. That's rough. That makes a lot of people question. Are you like they just question you as a person? Like, what are you doing in that situation? What makes you? I could see if you're going to the corner pylon, you got a defender coming in on you, you got to dive and reach, and you fumble because you got hit. Okay, at that point you're just trying to dive and make a play. But when you're wide open, nobody's really around you, and you can just hold the ball and just walk right on in. I don't know. I don't know. It's it's a weird thing that's been happening for several years now, and I don't get why it happens. Might have cost me in fantasy because that's one less Daniel Jones touchdown. But it is what it is. All in all, it was a really good game. Rams obviously just made a couple more plays, made a little less mistakes. Stafford was efficient. That run game looked really good. Puka Nakua had a day. It was just all around a really good day for the Rams offense. And that defense still played lights out besides a couple bad plays here and there. Granted, they're young. There's gonna be a blown coverage every now and then, but the Rams I think are in a good spot outside of maybe quarterback. I think just because Stafford is starting to get older, but that's just nitpicking kind of. I think the Rams are a really good football team. But I still think the Colts are a really good football team. It was just unfortunate that your game came down to a couple bad self-inflicted plays. I think Steichen be able to direct the ship back in the right direction and get the boys back on track as the season moves forward. The game that should have been a really good game, and it was for a bit, and then just went sideways real quick. Chiefs Ravens. I feel like we get this matchup at least once a year on regular season television, and I'm always here for it. Love watching two of the best quarterbacks, not only in the AFC but in the NFL, go against each other, and it's always good television. Ravens get the ball to start, go right down the field, score a touchdown. We're like, okay. Chiefs go down, kick a field goal. Ravens get the ball back. We're like, hey, maybe the Ravens know how to play some defense. Put on another score here. Just get right after it. Then you got a Lamar fumble that turns into a Chiefs touchdown. You get a stop that turns into another Chiefs touchdown. Then all of a sudden, the game is kind of just going Chiefs' way. Chiefs defense starting to turn up, stop. They're stopping Derrick Henry. They're limiting Lamar and what he can do. And they just start pouring on the points. Xavier Worthy is able to get over top a couple times, which is the one thing this Chiefs offense has been missing. They haven't had somebody be able to stretch the field. Tyquan Thornton can, but he's very inconsistent when it comes to catching the ball versus Xavier Worthy, who's finally back healthy, able to stretch the field. This was probably the best the Chiefs offense has looked. Outside of run the ball, they still haven't figured out how to run the ball really well, but Xavier Worthy and Tyquan Thornton both able to stretch the field, open up plays over the middle for Juju Smith-Schuster, Travis Kelce, guys like that. And Rashee Rice, once he gets back, he comes back from suspension in 4 more weeks, 3 more weeks. So it was a good it was a good second win for the Chiefs to kind of get back on track. And I think if this is any preview of what the Chiefs are going to look like moving forward, I mean, it's hard to keep down a Hall of Fame coach, a Hall of Fame quarterback, and a future Hall of Famer at tight end with an incredible defense coordinator that you have like Spagnola. The Ravens, they just don't look right. Lamar got hurt late in this game with a hamstring. Derrick Henry couldn't really get going. That defense has been awful all year. I don't know if it's coaching, personnel. I understand they're dealing with a lot of injuries, but even before the injuries, they weren't playing that good. There's just something's off about Baltimore, and I feel like it's putting a lot of weight on Lamar, and that weight's starting to get a little too much for him. Because this is the first time he's really had to carry the load for this team. First couple years, he always had a really, really good defense. They've been able to run the ball well, and it made things a little easier on him. Now you're at a point where your defense isn't super good, your offensive line's questionable, you're not able to run the ball, you're behind in games, you got to make plays. And even though we know Lamar can make the plays, I think Lamar is a very good quarterback. It seems like it's starting to wear down on him a little bit, and he's still been solid, but he's not looking like Lamar of old because of that. So there's a lot of things Baltimore's got to get figured out, especially because outside of Pittsburgh, who still isn't super great, your division isn't that good this year. Partially because you're not that good this year, but if you were able to figure it out, you still got a chance to not only potentially win your division, but still make the playoffs. But now you got Lamar hurt. You got to figure out your defense. There's just a lot of bad, untimely things going on with your team right now, and I don't know what's going to fix it. Being healthy would be the first step, but I think you also got to figure out some personnel issues and some play calling issues. And hopefully, if you can figure out the defense, the offense will come right back with it. But that's a lot of wishing and hoping. Next, Chicago Bears go to Vegas, play the Raiders. Raiders, I'm. What are they doing with Geno? Geno's just not been good for him. I mean, he's a roller coaster. He might have a two to three touchdown game and then turn around and have a 2 to 3 pick game. I will say this is the first game that it looks like the Raiders actually hit on Ashton Genty. He had a really good day. He had 3 touchdowns on the day, 130-ish plus rushing yards. They were able to run the ball really well. And in the first half, that defense was playing phenomenal. I mean, I thought Max Crosby was just, this would have been the game where I'm like, oh yeah, Max Crosby might win Defensive Player of the Year. He was just everywhere. He was getting in the backfield, had an interception. He was just everywhere. Then you get to the second half, the defense isn't nearly as tight. Bears are able to make a couple extra plays down the stretch. Caleb had a really good drive to put them up late, and then they forced the Raiders into a field goal situation, try and win it. They miss. That was a ball game. It was a good tight win for the Bears. The Raiders, I think the Raiders are an offensive lineman or two away, maybe a quarterback away from actually being really solid. I like a lot of their receivers and tight ends. I like Genty. Genty, for the first time, looked like an NFL running back today. The defense might could use another piece or two, but the defense is somewhat solid. I I am so surprised that the Raiders lost this game to the Bears, but that Bears offense does look good. I mean, Caleb and Roman Dunze do have a really good connection. You can see that. But yeah, it was kind of a weird game, but it was very entertaining to watch, especially when you had that the Ravens Chiefs game, which you would have thought would have been a more competitive game, but it really wasn't. Then we get Sunday Night Football. You have the Packers going to Dallas. You look at it and we're like, all right, we're here to see some points. And boy, did we see some points. So much so that they couldn't decide a winner. We had our first tie of the year, 40 all, in a game in which at one point Packers were up 13-3 with the ball. We were like, oh, they're going to score again. Scored on the first two drives, they're going to score again, and they're just going to blow it out of the water. Next thing you know, Dallas gets stopped, scores. Packers get the ball late in the first half. Jordan Love fumbles. Dallas scores again immediately. We're like, okay. With Dallas getting the ball back after half, they score again. Packers come roaring back. After that, it was just kind of like two heavyweight fighters kind of going blow for blow. You know, late into the game, Dallas goes up 3. We're like, okay, see what Jordan Love's got. Jordan Love's kind of wheeling and dealing. And there was one play where I'm like, yep, Dallas is going to lose this game. It was like second down. Jordan Love throws a little drag route to, I can't remember who the receiver was. I can't remember if it was Wicks or Golden, but it might have been Josh Jacobs out of the backfield. Just right through his hands, they dropped it. The middle linebacker, I can't think of his name. He's a younger guy. I can't remember if he's a rookie or second year player. Just absolutely lays the wood on him after the ball's been dropped. Just smokes him. I'm like, yep, that's an easy 15-yarder. I'm like, yep, Green Bay's going to win this game. About 4 plays later, Green Bay scores with a touchdown with like a minute 10 left. We're like, yep, that's it. Packers are going to get a stop and it's going to be ball game. Nope. Dallas goes right down, gets a field goal tied up. We're like, oh, we're going to overtime. Then we get to overtime. Nobody wants to win this game. They get the ball, just kick it to them. They get the ball, they kick it to them. Dallas goes down, kicks a field goal. We're like, okay, now it's going to be either Green Bay is going to score a field goal or they're going to score a touchdown. And they just kick a field goal with no time left. And I'm like, we've been up watching this game. This game didn't end until almost 1 o'clock. And it's just a tie. Just a tie. I just made me so mad. So mad that I don't know if it's the fact that the Packers were actually frauds through the first 3 weeks or if Dallas can just pick and choose when they're good. I don't know. I just know there were a lot of points scored. It was somewhat entertaining. Micah didn't really do a whole lot in his debut back in Jerry World, but I don't think either team really benefits good or bad from this. I mean, yes, Cowboys didn't lose, but you definitely didn't win. Packers didn't lose, but you also didn't definitely win. It was just more so. I mean, obviously it's a tie, so it's kind of a wash. It really hurts the Cowboys more than it does the Packers, just because Packers already have a winning record, whereas Cowboys don't. But it does show that Dallas is still able to score points efficiently. Green Bay's got some things to work on with their defense, and I think the offense has to be more committed to the run game. I think if they can be more committed to the run game and getting their defense some extra rest, that's going to help out in the long term. But that's all I got to really say about that. And then these 2 Monday night games. There's not really a whole lot to say, but I'm going to briefly touch on them. Dolphins, Jets. The fact that it was a 6-point game was insane. I mean, Dolphins in the first half just looked like they were going to smoke the Jets. Darren Waller had 2 touchdowns in this game. First game back, he hadn't played since January 7th of 2024. Just decided to come out and have 2 touchdown catches. It's kind of crazy. Tyreek Hill bent his leg the other way. That was insane to watch live. And then they replayed it, and I was like, we shouldn't be looking at this right now. But he's okay. Obviously, he's out for the year, but for the most part, he's okay. Jets don't look like they can really do a whole lot on offense. They don't really run the ball that well. The only reason they were really in it is because Dolphins started shooting themselves in the foot. Justin Fields was able to have a rushing touchdown, and then when you got Garrett Wilson, you can just eventually just throw it up, and he will come down with 1 or 2, and that's what happened. That's what kept them in it. But I mean, it was the battle of 0-3. Somebody was gonna win. It is what it is. There's some decent fantasy players out there for that, but nothing a lot to write home about. The game that was probably originally supposed to be the good Monday night game is in fact the Bengals and Broncos because the NFL scheduled it when they were like, okay, we're gonna get Joe Burrow and a high power offense going against the Broncos that are up and coming, made the playoffs last year. For the first half, went toe to toe with the Bills. We're like, okay, but then when you put Jake Browning in as a starting quarterback because Joe Burrow's out for the year, it just got ugly really quick. Broncos obviously are the better team, and you can clearly tell how much of the offense really falls on Joe Burrow to make plays because that's the only thing they're really missing from last year's team. Same running back, same wide receivers, same tight ends, pretty much the same offensive line, even though the offensive line isn't good. And they just can't do a whole lot. I think first drive they had a field goal and then they didn't score since. To the point where I think it's almost time to move on from the head coach. The head coach, Zach Taylor, you can't build an offense where you just rely on your quarterback. Even though I understand why you would, especially if he's so damn good. But if it's just built around your quarterback having to carry majority of the offense, it's not going to work, especially if they have to miss time. At least be able to build a team where, okay, if the quarterback goes down, we can run the ball. We can put a backup in to help with the running game, and he'll have at least some layups for some play action game with two really good receivers. They can't even do that. It's just it's it's terrible football to watch. And the defense, honestly, for the most part, didn't really play that bad. Yeah, they had a couple bad plays, but they weren't really that bad. Broncos, on the other hand, looked solid, did what they needed to do. They're obviously more healthy, they're more efficient, they got a really good defense, so on and so forth. There wasn't really a whole lot to write home about on the Bengals Broncos game, really. So, what did we learn this week? We learned Eagles might be frauds, Lions might be them still. Packers Cowboys apparently are like the same team. Panthers suck. Turf fields need to be banned. That's all I got. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, leave a comment, share it with a friend if you think they'll enjoy it. We're gonna be back later this week, predicting college games, predicting the NFL, all kinds of good stuff. This has been the Fumble Pod, and until next time, deuces.